Welcome to the Queen Conversations podcast, the official podcast of United Queendom. I'm Teddi Rene, the career champion and founder of United Queendom. I used to wait and let life happen to me and was lost with no real career goals. Like so many other women, I was just happy to have a job at all. I never negotiated my salary or even knew that I could, even though I struggled as a single mother to take care of my kids and to run my small business. But one day I had enough and I quit my job. Little did I know, this experience would give me the confidence and tools I needed to take control of my career and my life. I went from depending on food stamps to feed my family to making more than 6 figures in less than 2 years. And now I'm helping other women do it too. So join me every episode as me and my guests invite you on our journey and give you tips, tools, and guidance to take control of your life and live it the way that you decide. All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Queen Conversations podcast. My guest today is a fellow Founder Gym Cohort 10 alumna, and I'm going to let her introduce herself and what it is that she is doing to build a better tomorrow.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Jasmine Fain. I am the founder of LivingWithJ, also the CEO of EmpowerYou. But LivingWithJ is just my blog, my personal experiences all on one platform. I seek to improve nonprofits. My life is surrounded all by nonprofits, and I just want to create them into social startup companies. That model is something that I kind of created, shifting nonprofits into startup companies. I saw through Founder Gym that it could be done and that we can help nonprofits be better. So that's what I do on a daily basis. Is I do nonprofit coaching. I also do a little bit of grant writing. And then also on the other side, I am the CEO of EmpowerYou, which is a marketplace for nonprofits to promote their programs to communities. So I have a team and we work constantly 24/7 building that up for nonprofits.
Amazing. And this is like kind of very timely, right? With everything going on with COVID-19 and businesses needing money. I have received a lot of, inquiries and things for people asking, like, how can they find funding for their businesses? Where can they go? Do you know grant writers? Yeah. So are you currently, what's the process of working with you with LivingWithJ and helping those businesses, with grant writing?
Yeah. So in the midst of all this small business and the promised money, trust me, all my clients have been hitting me up like, how do I get the money and how do I get it now? So this has come up several times. But as far as grant writing, it's a little different. Grants haven't halted as far as getting the money for nonprofits. The cycle still continues. And you can hire a grant writer anytime, or if you want to become your own grant writer, it's a very simple process. As long as you have good rhetoric and grammar and know how to effectively convey your mission to the foundations. But as far as the small business money, I say I've been doing so much research on it. Apply for it. It's needed for nonprofits. Just reading some articles about how the president has been talking to larger nonprofits. I'm finding that the grassroots organizations are getting left out the conversations. They're automatically falling under the small business category and competing for money with other maybe LLCs who are doing a little bit better than in the nonprofit world. And so fight with them, go apply for the money, but also know grant writing. There's plenty of money out there as far as grant writing.
All right. So if someone's preparing, say, either to try and write grants for themselves or for their own businesses, what are some things that they absolutely have to have prepared? Like, what do they need to have on hand to make that application process, seamless?
Well, first you need to have a good, strong mission statement. A mission statement essentially is like what our English teachers used to tell us all the time. Like at the end of your paragraph, write a thesis statement to sum up the 3 points or however many points you're going to talk about. That's exactly what your mission statement does. And the way I train my nonprofits is your mission statement is your programs. I train them in a 3-folded model where you have 2 direct community impact programs, and then you have 1 fundraising program. So when you're going to pitch to somebody your mission statement, you need to include those 3 things, what you do on a daily basis in your mission statement to sum it up like a thesis statement. But besides your mission statement, you need to have your EIN number, which is your 501c3 tax identification number. Please have that and all your financials on hand. That is because they're going to ask for the details of your budget, how much your employers make, any and everything. But also know your programs in and out. A lot of grants nowadays aren't looking for annual budget funding. They're looking for specific program funding, meaning if you don't know your program, you don't know how many kids you're impacting, if you don't know the data behind what you're doing every single day, you're going to go down in competitiveness for funding. Like I explained to a lot of people, grants have become very political over time. One organization could have the same mission as you, but their data might be a little bit better. They might be serving an area that's directly closer to the foundation, and they might choose them over you, or they just might explain it better in their grant than you do. And so you have to realize that because they're so political, to have all those things ready, to know your organization like in and out, like the back of your hand, so you just have a better chance at receiving money.
Nice. Really good advice. And like, I am grateful for it because with Founder Gym, like we're talking about like fundraising and all these things. Right. And it's like there are so many different ways to get money for your businesses, whether they're for-profit or non-profit, whether you intend for them to be unicorns or just stay small businesses. Right. Yeah. Like not knowing what to prepare absolutely is time consuming. Like,
and like, but I also tell nonprofits, like, grants are only supposed to be 2% of your overall budget. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, 2%. Like that's it. But that's why we train in the social startup model. Like you said, like Founder Gym taught us about startups. That's why I tell them you scale as quickly as possible. You find other ways to create cash flow. And then you as the founder have an exit plan because you can't do this work forever. Mm-hmm. The only thing with nonprofits is we're essentially selling other people's lives to other people. Mm-hmm. And that means we have to invest in other people's lives and take on and empathize with them to be able to convince other people to give us money for it. And so when you switch to a social startup model, you take the pressure off yourself. You don't have to go and find grants all the time. You can create cash flow within the organization. And then you're like, I can exit it whenever I want to and feel great about it. And I'm not stressed out about everything. So, yeah.
So what made you start LivingWithJ? Like how did the idea come about, and just like why did you think that this specific blog like needed to exist in the world?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So 2016 is when I started LivingWithJ. And I remember I was a sophomore in college, and I've loved English my whole life. I went to school, got a professional writing degree from Oklahoma State University. And I just remember sitting in the hallway of my English building. I was like, I'm going to start a blog to tell about my experiences, because I was always funny in high school. I would make people laugh on social media, but I was like, I think I can write about myself and what I go through as a Black woman at a predominantly white institution. So I learned WordPress, taught myself a little bit of coding. Eventually I learned how to full on code, and just started the blog writing about my experiences, what it was like to be a Black body in a white space, and also to be a woman. And then I kind of gave it up for a while. College kind of gets busy and stuff. And then when I came back upon the idea senior year. By this point, I had served as executive director over a nonprofit. I had been very heavily involved in the nonprofit world. And I was like, I think I want to promote nonprofits and really show them that, you know, there's resources out there. And also with having the idea about EmpowerYou, I was realizing there wasn't strong information about what minorities should do in the nonprofit world. A lot of people were coming to me and saying, I got my EIN, I got my 501c3, I did A, B, and C, but my nonprofit is just a standstill. And I'm like, that's not enough for our people, because oftentimes those grassroots organizations that people start to solve the problem is fixing a big need, is keeping these communities alive. So I was like, we need valid information to be able to keep these communities alive. So that's why I started Living with Jay, and I rebranded, did everything, and now I just put resources and information out there on a weekly basis. And like I said, mainly for minorities, because I just saw there was a need and a lack of proper information.
Absolutely. So where can everyone find Living with Jay? Is it just livingwithj.com? Is it?
Yes. So livingwithj.com. Also, I'm big on Instagram. So you can find me at livingwithj _. And then also I am now a contributor for Dallas Doing Good. So dallasdoinggood.com, where I'll be featuring nonprofits in the communities and different things like that. But mainly my stuff is on livingwithj.com. That's where you can find me.
Love it. All right. So let's talk about EmpowerYou a little bit, right? So what's the difference between Living with Jay and the work you do there, and then the big picture of EmpowerYou?
Yeah, so the main thing is I'm running my own startup company, and that's a whole task in itself. But I would say the main difference is I'm creating a software out of experience that I faced growing up. My passion for EmpowerYou came from seeing my mom finding nonprofit programs to put me in. I mean, I was a Girl Scout, I was in church programs, all these different things, but I realized as I grew up that they came from word of mouth. They came from friends and family. They never came from her being able to go on the internet and find something for me. And so I thought back and I was like, if we didn't have those friends and family who had those resources, where would I be today? And I look at the world that we are in now, and parents are seeking more information, more programs and things for their kids to do. And I Googled it one day. I was like, nonprofit programs for people, and couldn't find anything. I mean, I found different sites, different nonprofits, but couldn't find a unified site that gave you a marketplace to find any nonprofit program that you wanted. So that birthed the idea for me. I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to create this platform so we can unify the market. But also seeing within the nonprofit world, there became a lot of duplication of programs within a certain target market, especially in lower income communities. Various nonprofits were popping up doing the same thing, but not knowing each other existed, because there wasn't a platform to see like, hey, even though we're underrepresented, we're not a big, large scale nonprofit, we are serving in the same community, doing the same thing. And that's just what EmpowerYou serves to do. We are a marketplace that connects nonprofit programs to communities. And mainly we want to help underrepresented communities and underrepresented nonprofits. That means nonprofits who maybe just started or are scaling, even the medium size, and even we welcome the larger ones, but we want to hone in on that duplication of programs and just unifying everybody so that we all can share the resources and help.
I love it. That's amazing. So what would you say has been your biggest challenge with, getting EmpowerYou up and running and, finding nonprofits? Was it getting them to participate, or like what's the biggest challenge so far?
I would say it's not about finding the nonprofits, because I feel like every day somebody starts a new nonprofit and a new 501c3 pops up, and I'm like, okay, my market is growing, so I'm happy about that. I would say it's getting people to believe in the vision that you have. Finding those team members who want to stay committed to the vision. I do have a team, and we're currently looking for a CTO. So if anybody has technical experience, we are looking for that. But it's getting people to believe in the vision. But also, I would say, on the other hand, it's getting yourself to believe in your own vision and to see the long-term goals. For a long time, I sat on the business plan for EmpowerYou for about 2 years in college. And that's just because I was like, can I really run a business out of college? Like, is this possible? And also, I did not know anything about the startup world. I just knew small businesses and that's it. So I was like, how am I going to make this happen on the scale that I want it to happen? And I just remember just sitting in church one day and God just kept telling me, you need to start this. You need to start this. You need to start this. And I'm just like, how, God? How am I going to start this? And then I went to the conference Summit 21 ran by Blavity and Morgan DeBond. And that's where I met Mandela, Founder Jim. And I'm like listening to her and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a new business model. I've never experienced this before. What is going on? And she's explaining how like Google and Airbnb came about. And I'm like, yes, these are the people I want to be. And from then on, like, I was so hesitant to apply to Founder Gym. I was like, I only have an idea and a business plan. What am I going to do with this? Everybody that I've talked to who was a previous cohort in it has said they have been doing their business for a couple of months or years. And I'm like, I have an idea. I don't know what I'm going to do. How am I going to do this? And so as I was staring at the Founder Gym application one day, I just felt God say, apply, you're going to get in. And I'm thinking like, this is Founder Gym. I know Mandela's reputation by now. I'm like, how am I going to get in? And I applied and got in on just a simple idea and a business plan. And from then on, like within 3 months, my idea and business plan went to a full team, a startup company, and building a software that we're about to launch in the fall. But it took me to be obedient and believe in myself. If I didn't listen to that stirring and God's calling and saying, hey, you need to do this, if I didn't believe in myself, I wouldn't be where I am today.
That's amazing. So shout out to Morgan and Mandela because Summit 21 has absolutely, it's a big part of my story as well. Like I was sitting there, I think I went 2017. And I was just sitting there and I was like, I'm just here to meet people and to get away. And by the end of it, I was like, yep, United Queendom, going full force. Like, I can do it. Let's go figure it out. And it was just like crazy. So shout out to them for, you know, speaking so much into us so that we know that we can do it.
Yes. Even on the gram, like I follow them. And I'm just like daily encouragement from both of them. Like I look up to them. Like they are Black women who are doing it in this business and put it on for everybody.
Absolutely. And the support that they show each other is just, it's amazing.
Yes.
I love it. All right. So we have been in this COVID community. I don't even know what to call it at this point. I don't even know what day of isolation it is. My laundry's piling up. It's
probably one or something.
Yeah, I'm like, my laundry's piling up. So I'm figuring we're about 4 weeks in now. I literally am doing time by laundry. That is so sad. But anyway, so how has, like the current atmosphere of just like the world and businesses and things affected, your progress and what you all and your team have coming up and what you've been working on?
Actually, I would say this space that the world is creating is the space that we needed for our startup company. Before, there was a lot of ceilings that we didn't know how we were going to defeat. One being our team is all Black and women. We were like, how are we going to get past that and raise money? Also, just being an early stage pre-seed company, we were kind of wondering the space we were going to be entering into. But even on the nonprofit side, I saw a lot of ceilings in the nonprofit world that needed to be taken down. Often I would talk to people wanting to help, and they would be like, well, if you're going to come in and do it, you have to do it my way. And knowing the knowledge that I have, that I went to school to be a grant writer, I've been trained on more of a technological side when it comes to grant writing. And it became frustrating as a grant writer, even a nonprofit consultant, to hear that from nonprofits where you see where they're kind of struggling. So for me, COVID is one of those things where it has its pros and cons. The cons is that I saw a statement, I wrote a IG post about this, where some people are saying nonprofits are dying. And that is in fact true. Nonprofits are dying because of COVID. But the pro to this is that they don't necessarily have to die, that they can shift their model to the social startup model, that they can shift their mindsets to more of a business, and that they can sell a good. They can sell the things that they've been promoting, and that they can survive through this. But it's one of those good and bad things where they are dying. That's the thing. They are dying. For those who have kind of resisted to include like Zoom, places like Zoom and more social media and technology into their organizations, they're suffering during this world because we've completely shifted to an online virtual presence. Mm-hmm. I've seen one of my clients just completely shifted to running their whole programs through Zoom, but they're still moving and stuff. Right. But it's one of those things where I feel bittersweet about it, because it is tough to see the nonprofits that you want to survive, but it becomes a point in time as a nonprofit consultant and just a person who's in this industry that you see it's time for the shift to happen. What we've been seeing is millennials have been coming in and have understood that for a long time, the technology piece, and they've taken these problems that older nonprofits have been working in for years, but all they did was applied clean websites, strong social media content, and they let that do the back end work, and they've scaled faster than these nonprofits who's been around for 20 years doing the work. And it became frustrating because it's like, nobody wants somebody else coming in and running it and doing better than them, but that's what gets our generation, millennial generation, engaged, is the content, the pictures, and all this stuff. So that's what I kind of have to say about it. It's good for my business because we are moving, and I can train people to move and kind of glide with this wave. But if you are a nonprofit and you've been doing this for years and you don't know how to incorporate that stuff, it's kind of like a ticking time bomb at this point of when it's going to go downhill.
Yeah. And that's something that I'm seeing very commonly is like those who are resisting this that's happening right now you can tell and you can see it. And it's like, no, like, don't fight it. Just go with it. It's good. It's really good. Like, and that's what I'm trying to get across. It's really good. Like the old ways of life, we're never going to be the same again. The old ways of running the nonprofit model have died within a month. I mean, it died within the first week. I saw it, and even with our government now relying more on nonprofits to support these communities, they have to have a strong business model now. The smaller businesses who were kind of picking up the back work, they've been taking out the game. Nonprofits, I've seen so many nonprofits do donations, provide food when a lot of the schools in Dallas started limiting food resources. Nonprofits picked up all of that. But the nonprofits who picked it up are the ones that had a strong business model, who knew we could shift to a virtual presence, who knew we can cut half of our staff but still get the work done. And that's who's surviving during this. So, and I see similar here in like the DC area, like the nonprofits are the ones doing like the community outreach. And so there are a couple in DC who are doing like delivery services for seniors and families who can't get out or who don't have access. So they absolutely need nonprofits, but also need them to kind of get with the times and,
just keep it move with us because we're moving to a better place.
Exactly. All right. So you mentioned the social startup methodology or of starting a business, right? I mean, your own nonprofit. What exactly is that, and what is the previous or the traditional model?
Yes. So most people have heard of like social enterprises, and a lot of people throw that word around when it comes to nonprofits. You might have seen a nonprofit that has a thrift store attached to it. That's big and popular nowadays, or they sell a good, such as Girl Scouts. They're essentially a social enterprise, a social startup model. And for years, these bigger nonprofits have been operating like this. And all the smaller nonprofits have wondered, like, how does Girl Scouts is a nonprofit, but they make billions of dollars and they have products and
cookies.
Yes, and I am a faithful buyer of Thin Mints every year. And it's just like, but we fail to realize they're a nonprofit. They make billions of dollars. They're a nonprofit. Salvation Army, Goodwills, all nonprofits, but make billions of dollars. That's because they run their model like a social startup company. And where I train the model is you kind of have three wheels to your car. And the first two wheels are your direct community impact programs. And then your third wheel is your fundraising program. And so within each of these programs, you want to find a fundraiser that attaches to it, that creates and generates cash flow for that specific program. So say if you go do donations and collect donations, you want to maybe have an annual restaurant fundraiser to say, we know every year we need to make this amount of money to support this program, and it funds itself. And so now you're creating a machine where the wheels are turning itself. You know, if I do this event, this gets paid for. If I do another event, this gets paid for. And you're never worrying about money. This doesn't mean to create these big elaborate budgets. We want to have a program that runs $10,000. Do what you know you can raise. If you use the online presence to your advantage. There's so many ways you can make a lot of things free. And especially through Zoom, you have your program through Zoom. It's completely free. You know, maybe we just need a budget of $100. We can go fundraise $300. Covers it. And then you keep moving up the layers. So once you cover those wheels, you go up. Now we're looking at where can we include salaries? Where can we maybe pay for rent and more of the annual budget? And then that's when we start talking about donors, because we need donors. We need volunteers to take up the back work to create those community engagement for us. And then that's when we start asking donors for money. We start creating the base, donor managing, have them participate, raise money. Then you start covering the expenses there. Now we're talking about grants. Grants are only 2% of your budget, but you can see from this model that everything else is covered. You're not worried about where money is coming from every week. You're not worried about how are we going to keep the organization open. No, it runs itself. You can walk away from this as long as you know you have staff who is running it, that the programs are going to continue going. You can walk away from it as the founder and it will run itself. And so now we get to the top where grants. And grants, we use grants as capital. We use that to expand ourselves. Maybe a program needs expanding because we have way too many students in it. Let's go raise a grant, have an organization or foundation sponsor us, give us the money. Now we can expand. But grants are just, like I said before, political, and that's why we use them as capital. They take 3 to 6 months to come in, and by 3 to 6 months, your program probably had like 2 or 3 cycles. Kids have been in and out, and you need the money like right now. Right. So you got to use them as capital. But that's the way I train my nonprofits in the social startup model. And by the time you get to the point, you have an established foundation. The wheels are turning itself. The programs are making money by itself, and you're not stressing yourself out. That's why I keep it to the 3 wheels, because each wheel has its own fundraiser. And then of course you have the fundraising program. So I got 3 tasks that I got to worry about, total like 6 or 5 or 6, because each program has its own fundraiser, and that's the only things we're worrying about. And then we got to worry about donors, and then we worry about grants last.
Hey, it's Teddi, and I need a favor. So for 2020 as a decade, my word, the overall theme is visibility. And I need your help to do that. If you would be so kind as to leave a genuine review of the Queen Conversations podcast on Apple Podcasts, then I will send you a free Queen Conversations podcast t-shirt from Paraphernalia University. To claim your free t-shirt, simply send a screenshot of your review with your size, your name, and shipping address to freetee@TeddiRene.com. That's FREETEE at TeddiRene.com. So just to recap, send a screenshot of your Apple Podcast review for the Queen Conversations podcast and get a free t-shirt from Paraphernalia University. Thank you so much for your help and your support.
And in this whole process, you're scaling. So if, for example, you have a program and you start off with 10 kids, cool, 10 kids, we're on Zoom or however we want to do the program, and we have a small budget. But our goal is to scale. We want to get more kids in this program. We want to get more donors to give us money. And eventually we want to get more grants, because that's your end goal, is to scale and then exit, just like a startup company. Because a lot of people say, I want to become the Red Crosses or the Salvation Armies of the world, but they scale. That's what they do. They gain as many people on the back end, and then they figure out how to pay for it later. That's what they do. So you're going to scale. Your programs are going to scale. You're going to gain more people than what you're getting money sometimes. But as long as you know you have a fundraiser attached to it that's matching that money, you're going to be completely fine.
Nice. So what is your, I know for my business strategy clients and whatnot, my favorite part is when they're starting the business and they're doing the research and all of that. What's your favorite part of your consulting?
Ooh, I would have to say, I call it the aha moment when nonprofits realize that they can be businesses. It's usually within the first session, and I call it the ideation stage in my coaching program. And all we're doing is going back over their mission statement, their vision statement. I make them go over their passions, and then I do this kind of like training module with target market. I make them close their eyes and envision their ideal customer. And after that first session, I see the aha moment. And I'm talking about nonprofits who've been operating maybe for 2 years, and they're having to go back over this stuff, and they have these aha moments like, oh my gosh, we've been doing this kind of not wrong, but we just didn't see the clear vision the whole time. And that just gives me such joy to know that this model is working, and the knowledge that I have is being reached across to other people. Because at any stage in your nonprofit, you should always have an aha moment. You should always go back and rehash what you thought was your mission statement and what you thought were your passions, to see, are we staying on track with everything? So that's for me is the best feeling, especially when it comes to the target market, because that's another thing that I love to train is people how to reach their target market, and just closing your eyes and envisioning that ideal race, the ideal economic background, where they live, the places they occupy on a daily basis. You're able to find those persons in plain sight, and you can hand them the flyers and do the grassroots marketing and say, hey, I see you in plain sight. I want to help you. So, yeah.
That isn't it a great feeling? When I think I want to say, for the matter of fact, first episode of this season, how I'm talking about last year and how I help people with their career goals. And it's just a really great feeling that the experiences and knowledge that I have are actually making an impact on people in real life. You can see it and you can,
yes.
And it's yes.
It's that great moment, because I think for a while I was just am I teaching the right stuff? Because I'm I know all this knowledge. I know it works. I've studied it. I went to school for it. And even just reading many articles, going through Founder Gym, adapting this model for nonprofits. And I'm is this going to work for these people? Are they getting it? If you ever are in a coaching session with me, I'd be do you have any questions? Please let me know now. And people are oh my gosh, I never thought about this. And in the back of my brain, I'm whoo, okay. It's working. This model is working. And it's not that I don't believe, but sometimes we have these theories. We see how we can help and the problem, but until it's actually applied and people give you feedback, you're like, okay, it's actually working. This is going good. And I mean, it's been going so good for me, and I'm grateful for it all.
I love it. I love it. So with this time that we've all been in like collective isolation and whatnot, like what has changed with your daily routine? Like what have you done? What are you doing now that maybe you didn't do before? And
yeah. Ooh, okay. So my routine before was like, I woke up at 5 a.m. I was in the gym by 7 a.m. and I had like a full on like schedule, like got back from the gym, started work, lunch, work. And then my rule of thumb for anything is I cut off work at 5 o'clock. Now I feel like I've returned back to my college routines. Like I stay up till like 3 a.m. now. I get up around noon. I mean, I still get all the work done. I'm still completing all the meetings and appointments and stuff, but it's kind of refreshing because, you know, once I went straight from college graduate to entrepreneur, it's kind of like I lost my freedom a little bit. I felt that my life moved on very quickly and that it was a quick adjustment. So to have this period, like COVID has given me rest and the ability to settle, and also the ability to re-implement some things back into my business, to rethink my ideas and just have this moment of rest. But yeah, my routine has returned back to college. I stay up to like 3 a.m. and then I wake up the next morning and I'm like, what in the world is going on? But I know soon I have to get back on my entrepreneurship schedule, because once all this is over, my body is going to be like, waking up at 5 a.m. This is not it. This is not it.
I'm happy I'm not the only one, because I as well used to wake up at between like 4:30 and 5, try to get a workout in, have some time before the kids get up, you know, get them up, get them ready for school, and then start like my work day. And then I would work on business stuff in the evening. But now, just like you, I'm up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I wake up when the sun is like shining on my face.
And it was so bad. Like this morning, I woke up because I set my alarm to post, because, you know, I have certain posting times on Instagram in the morning. I will literally wake up, post like half asleep, and then go back to sleep. Like I have blackout curtains too. Oh, the best investment, but probably the worst decision that I have. And I just close the blackout curtains. It's like it's night again, and I go back to sleep. And
I'm just glad that I didn't invest in those, because I have 3 large windows in my bedroom. And literally at about 7:30, that sun is like directly on my pillow. And before I was like, I need blackout curtains. And I was like, no, because if the sun is up and you're not up, that's a problem.
Yeah. Invest in them. I suggest anybody to invest in blackout curtains. They're the best things that I have in my room currently.
Yeah. And so, you know what? I think that for a lot of us who are so used to having like really strict structure, because we do so much with our time and we want to accomplish so much. I mean, I feel bad saying like, thank God for this time, because it's not.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Like I feel bad for saying that, but also I think it's one of your tweets. I have it liked in my Twitter, but you were saying there's a shift that's coming that needs to happen, and this is that shift. And I believe with it wholeheartedly, this is that shift that needed to happen. My friends are probably tired of me talking about capitalism by now in our conversations, but it's just the business minded in me. But it's just a period of every ceiling that we were trying to defeat as entrepreneurs, as activists, as people who are community first. It's revealed itself in a week. Yep. And we can finally rest knowing that change is going to come after this, that the shift is here and that it's going to shift. And that's when I feel bad because of the state of the world. There are people dying. We have to accept that reality. But as people who have been in this fight for some time, it's a much needed break in the ceilings. You could feel in the world that we couldn't fight anymore. As a business owner, as a Black woman, it was frustrating. I couldn't fight anymore. I was tired of it. As an activist and who works on a nonprofit side, I couldn't fight anymore. I was tired of seeing so much hurt and pain and injustice. And this was the break that we needed to know, okay, coming out of this, we know how our healthcare system works. We know how nonprofits need to operate now. We know where minorities stand in this country and how we can help ourselves and how we can actively actively represent ourselves within this government. We know all this now. Everything just revealed itself literally within a week, and I'm grateful for the shift. It's like you said on Twitter, it is the shift that is coming, and people who have been doing good and wanting to create institutions to do good, institutions that can still make money, but that first care about the people. Our time is here. Just like I was listening to, I forgot where I was, some other podcast, and they were saying just like the 2008 recession, how like Airbnb and Uber were boomed out of it. This is our time for the social good people, for the activists to boom our ideas out of this. Like, if you are a social activist or you are anybody who has the heart and has been working on something, your time is here. I feel it more than ever, especially with EmpowerYou. Our time is here. This is the world where we will become the millionaires and billionaires, but we will put people first and bring people up with us to sit at the table.
Absolutely. Do some good and make some money while doing it. Like,
right.
It's crazy because like I literally, and you can ask like my best friend, like I felt super like irritable and everything bothered me or made me upset. I would see different things. Like I avoided the news and I had to get off Twitter sometimes because of just so much just hurt and pain in the world. And I was literally just like, this doesn't make any sense. I watched Search Money on Netflix and I literally
oh my gosh, that show, I was like, oh, this is
I was like extremely triggered. I was like, oh my God, I understand that. Like, I absolutely, like, I've been in that situation with Credit One credit card.
Yes.
I'm just like, I have goals for like housing reform and things like the lady who like with the landlord and Jared Kushner and them and how they did her. I'm like, oh my God, like that's a real thing, to the point where I called my landlord and was like, look, these extra fees that y'all be putting on my thing, I'm gonna need y'all to handle these now. Like I was just like so upset at just like how people prey on those who are just trying to make a better lives for themselves and their family. And they don't need to be rich or anything. They just want to be comfortable as a reward for working hard and being good people. And it was just like, I was just every day just like, I'm just irritated. I'm just pissed off. I'm just angry. And there's no real reason or no specific reason. And then once all this happened and stuff, like I am so at peace and just calm. And I'm just like, you know, I'm going to listen to what they're saying. I'm going to stay home unless I need to go out. I'm not super concerned about, like, I have asthma. I've been treated for pneumonia within like the last couple of years. And I'm just like, I'm good. Like, I'm like, you know, I'm not walking around with gloves, touching everything and everyone. My social distance. I'm just like, I understand. Like, I'm so at peace, even though it seems like I should be more concerned. And I know that this is just a result of the world is absolutely changing. Like, I don't know why or where, but about this time last year, I started feeling that and saying like some crazy stuff's about to happen. Things about to be completely different. And I keep tweeting it. And then I listen to Potter's House and they're talking about a shift and the pattern. The pattern app is just very triggering for me because they're always right. Okay. And they're talking about a major shift. And just like this confirmation is like, all right, Teddi, just stay the course. You know, stay yourself, continue to serve. And at the end of when this is done, like all of the things that need to be seen will be seen. And, you know, you'll be a part of that and you'll be taken care of. Like, I'm like so at peace. Like, it's crazy, but I love it. I appreciate it.
No, I completely agree with you with the at peace. I was just talking to my mom about this yesterday because she was asking me questions and I was like, I'm just so at peace with it all. And I know it's one because of my salvation and faith in God, but also just, and I don't know if it's because we've been on the business side and we've seen the devils and the bad, the worst of it all.
Absolutely.
But I'm just so at peace with it all. And I think for me, I realized that the shift was coming. Actually, a couple of months ago is when I went to this talk called Socialism Suits at a university in Dallas. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing was about capitalism and big business and stuff. And as I'm listening and stuff, like, it's kind of one of those things where as a business owner in your mind, you kind of agree because you understand where capitalism helps your company to scale. Mm-hmm. But also my heart was like, but this is not serving the people that I want to serve. This will only scale me as a person and whoever I bring up, but it won't help those that I can't bring up with me. It will only put them down further. And I was talking to this couple and telling them about EmpowerYou and what I do. And I just remember the statement, this older man, he had been a small business owner for years and retired. And he was like, young woman, understand that your business will only survive in a capitalist environment. And I was just like, what? You know, like this. And like, I'm being a business owner, I'm like, yeah, like that's kind of true. But being just a human, it's like, this is the game that has been played for years. This is how they got to be where they are. And like I said, this shift is just so necessary. Now I'm realizing that you can be both at the same time, not in essentially the extremist capitalist that people say, but you can run a business, scale, but still help people at the end of the day. And like you just said, that this is a necessary shift. Like if anybody's going through this, like roll with it, know that God has a purpose and a plan for all of this. I don't think this shift didn't come from anything else. This shift came from God. Mm-hmm. I feel it. It's like all around us, and just roll with it and know that the world will never be the same. But also know that there are people who have been hidden, who have been restoring themselves, who have been essentially in the trenches, I like to call it, in the trenches working, and that we're going to be the Ubers and Airbnbs, and we're going to scale it, and we're coming to save people. We genuinely are coming to save others.
I love it. Now, my favorite part, and this, if you were to have a favorite part of COVID-19, my favorite part is seeing like all of my friends and my network and stuff like taking better care of themselves. Like people are running every day, and they're walking every day, and they're cooking food, and you know, they're just very aware of their bodies and what their bodies need right now, and they're taking care of themselves, and it makes me very happy. And it's encouraging because, like, for once, everyone's doing what I know I should be doing. So instead of saying, oh my God, I really want to be on that trip with them, let me go see if I can book it. Like, I'm like, that food looks good. Can you send me that recipe? Like, it's really refreshing to see. And I think that a lot of us are absolutely going to come out of this better. I redid my budget yesterday, and I'm going to be credit card. Okay. If this continues the way that I think it is, by the time we hit summer, I'm not going to have no credit card debt.
Oh, amen to that. You know, because I've been doing my budget after this a little talk, and I'm like, but the stock market and all that stuff, like, that's like, I hate to say it, but like it crashing, because I was like, I need to get my life together. I need to become an investor. I need to have a backup plan. Then the stock market crashed, and I was like, look at this.
I'm sitting here saying my lease is up in February. I'm buying a house next year. I don't know how I'm gonna buy a house because I still got to fix my credit, and I need to put some money to the side. And they were like, daycare is closed, and I was like, thank God.
You're right.
Daycare expenses. Oh my God. I'm sitting here like, so if you guys didn't have to go to daycare, you mean to tell me I could be rich? Like, yeah. Really? Like, y'all, like, daycare is my second largest expense other than housing.
Ooh.
And my kids are school age. They're not like babies anymore. They're just before and after. And I'm like, wow. And they don't even go to like one of those like super inclusive, like full immersion daycares or anything. They go to child time before and after. They're there for a couple hours a day if they go. And I'm just like, my budget looks so much better without that tuition on there.
Oh no, like that for the position. Like I applaud mothers right now. I applaud people who have families right now. Because as a single person who still just lives in the comfort, I decided to. A couple of months ago, I moved to South Africa to work with nonprofits. And then I came back and I was like, am I going to move out on my own or am I going to come back home? And I was like, I'm coming back home. And so I'm so grateful for my parents for allowing me to come back home. And it just saves me so much money. My budget just looks so good. And especially with COVID, I'm like, oh, I'm saving so much money. Like, oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, that's the one regret I do have is that when I was living with my mom, when she was alive and when her business was thriving, things that I didn't have the financial and credit knowledge that I needed. Like it wasn't like I was young. I was like 25, 26. Like I wasn't young. I just didn't know. So it's like, I kind of regret that. And now I'm like, hey, if only somebody would let us move in February,
right?
I could save all of this money. Like, that would be great, but I am absolutely grateful. Like the kids you haven't even heard them making a sound.
No, I haven't.
I've gotten this down, the little down pack. So I'm feeling kind of good. We've been in here playing video games at least once or twice a week. We've been playing board games, and we usually like stuff we do on a typical Saturday when we're all together. Is what we've been doing, which means they've been getting on my nerves a little extra, but they've also been a lot of fun. And, we've just been spending some more time together. They don't have any activities to go to, so we're not running around. So baseball practice, it's super peaceful. They get to just enjoy their space and annoy each other, which is super cute, but also very frustrating sometimes because, she's a girl, she's a 6-year-old girl. He's a 10-year-old boy. Okay. He wants to hit her so that she leaves him alone. She wants to hit him playfully. And I'm just like, really?
No, I applaud y'all. I've been thinking about going to take my nieces and nephews from my sisters because like I said, everything you just said, they've been going through. I'm like, I'm gonna come save y'all. Maybe when this is dying down a little bit, self-quarantining, but I was like, I'm gonna come save y'all because I understand.
Yeah, so we definitely trying to get out the house and go for walks and stuff. Like the playgrounds are locked up, but go for a walk. Ride the scooters, we've turned the living room and dining room into a skating rink a couple times. So just move the dining room and the chairs out the way and just skate on the hardwood floors. I'm like, first of all, it's a rental. Second of all, I can just get somebody to polish it later.
Right.
So we've been having a really good time. So yeah, so COVID-19, it sucks, but we're good. And I know that a lot of other people are good. And I just hope that everybody stays safe and we'll get through it. And supposedly it'll be back in the fall, but we'll get through that too.
When they came out, who came out in the CDC came out and said, oh, it's going to be seasonal. I was like, every virus becomes seasonal. We learn to live with it. But I think just wanting to spread more joy about the positivities that will come out of this. Like it's bad right now. Yes, we are not going to deny the reality, but there is help on the way and that there will be good birthed out of this. And unfortunately, sometimes in our world, in our human condition, it takes tragedies like this for us to wake up and see just how much we've been hurting each other. I talk about it all the time. We've lost the human connection. We don't really care about the feelings of one another, even though we are more virtual now and probably will continue to be more virtual. We have to make effort to have human connection. We see that now. It was all through social media and you said this on social media, all that stuff. And then when we get in person, we're still on phones, even on dinner and stuff. Now we see once human connection has been shut off completely for us, we can't even go outside and touch and hug our friends and family members. We see we have to work a little bit more towards that. So even though it's a huge and crazy wake-up call, it's still a wake-up call.
Absolutely. My grandma's putting our groceries on the porch at her house. She's like not even letting us in. We do
FaceTimes me now. So like this,
we do because like my uncle works at a grocery store, and then we have like cards to like Restaurant Depot and Sam's and Costco. So like if one person's going, they'll be like, hey, who needs what? They have eggs here. They have this here. Right. We'll buy what we can, and then we'll just take it to my grandma's house. And she's like, yeah, text me when you're 5 minutes away. I'll put your stuff on the porch. And we're like, really, lady? Like,
yeah. Like, I understand, but it's like, really, grandma? Like, it's me. Like,
I'm like, I don't have coronavirus. She's like, I don't care. Like, I'm not taking no chances. 70-something years old. Your stuff's on the porch. Love you. Goodbye. And I'm like, all right. But, all right. So before we wrap up, though, do you have any final words, any insight, inspiration, anything you want to share with the audience, either about this time or Living with Jay, or, grant writing, nonprofits, or marketing their nonprofits, or anything you want to say? The floor is yours.
Yeah. So, of course, I am a nonprofit blogger, so you can find many resources of mine on LivingWithJ.com, but I am taking more coaching clients currently because everything is virtual now. I used to do in person a lot, but now I can take a load of clients. So if you are an underrepresented nonprofit, if you are somebody who even just is an entrepreneur and looking into the nonprofit world, please hit me up on Instagram. Please come learn this social startup model. But in all, I just want to say to the people, we will get through this. You are loved by many people who have been working and steady working in the hand of God for some time for this new world, this new shift. And in all the nonprofit industry, we're going to be fine. We're going to survive through this. And we're going to come out stronger than we ever have in generations and years. But in all, if you're a nonprofit, even if you're a large scale nonprofit, hit me up. I'm here to help. I want to share all this knowledge to the world and just grow people to become the companies I know that they can be.
I love it. And well, thank you for joining me today, for taking the time and sharing all of your just amazing energy and knowledge. I learned some things today. And I'm absolutely sure that the audience will learn a lot of things, and y'all better hit her up and contact her, because I know some of you guys have some of you have nonprofits. Some of you have been asking, like, well, what if I want to build a nonprofit out of, the business that I have? Like, all of those types of things. Hit her up, email, call her. Everything.
My email is Fain Fain, Jasmine, Jasmine 19 @gmail.com. Or you can go to my Instagram and book a consultation call. That's probably, even if you email me, I'm probably going to refer you back to that so it can stay on my schedule. But please hit me up. I want you to create the nonprofit and solve the problems. But just know I'm going to push you. There's a lot of homework behind it, and I'm going to make sure you know how to run it like a business, like a startup company.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Jasmine. You stay safe.
Yes, you too.
To learn more about Jasmine and Living with J or EmpowerYou, visit her at www.livingwithj.com. Again, that's www.livingwithj.com. You can also follow her on Instagram and Twitter at LivingWithJ, or on Facebook at LivingWithJ blog.